we've got to talk about Harry and Meghan this week. I mean, I know we did a bit on it on the podcast as well. But, I mean, I want to sort of delve into why do you think that no one believes a word they say? Why do you think people are so sceptical?
I don't know. Have you seen Page Six's updates on this?
But Page Six love them, don't they?
Yes, they do. That's why these updates are amazing. Page Six says that Christopher Sanchez, who is Obama's previous security guard, they call him like the Houdini of security guards because he always manages to sneak the principals out the back and no one notices that they're gone when they left. You know, he's just a master at getting people out. He was with Harry and Meghan on the 17th. And they said that the initial plan, this is Page Six, was to sneak them out the back, class Christopher Sanchez style. And Harry and Meghan wanted to walk past the paps. It was Harry and Meghan that switched the plan up to walk past the paps waiting for them. It was Harry and Meghan that only wanted one photographer inside the event, which is what the Miss Foundation did. There was only one photographer allowed inside the event. Harry and Meghan didn't walk the carpet that everyone else walked. They stood in front of the step and repeat where they allowed their photo to be taken by one photographer. But at the end of the night, instead of sneaking out the back, they decided to walk out in front of all the paparazzi to have their photo taken. This is according to Page Six. Additionally, Page Six is reporting that Harry and Meghan asked for a discount at the Carlyle, one of the most famous, fabulous hotels in New York City. It was Diana's favorite. It's $8,000 a night to stay in Diana's old room at the Carlyle. Page Six reporting that Harry and Meghan asked for a discount to stay at the Carlyle. The Carlyle rejected them, said, we don't do discounts for anybody. And that's why Harry and Meghan ended up staying at a friend's private residence and why they ended up driving around aimlessly in New York City for 2 hours so the photographers could not get pictures of where they were staying. So basically Page Six is like, this is on you guys. You should have stayed at a hotel with a back entrance.
Aren't Page Six normally quite sympathetic towards them?
Yes. Yes.
So they've lost Page Six now. They've lost Page Six.
Well, I think what they did was they went after New York City, and Page Six is New York City.
Oh, I get it. I absolutely get it. So once you do that, then you lost them. It's like going after the Standard in London or something like that. Well, I don't know whether the Standard really likes London anymore. I have to be honest.
Well, I was thinking maybe the Ritz London, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, but I mean the Standard newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even know whether that likes London that much anymore. But I get what you're saying. So because Page Six is so New York, once you go after Page Six, people are going to say, right, we don't love you anymore.
I mean, I'm sure that they can win them back with a couple of exclusives because that always. I have an interview with them on Monday, so maybe I'll get some new info. But I think that this was a huge fail on their part.
Yeah, they're too cheap for a hotel. I'm reading the Page Six. Harry and Meghan got into a car chase because they're too cheap for a hotel. And even then, they put car chase in inverted commas. That is going to be it now. Car chase is always going to be put in inverted commas now. Everyone's going to question.
You know what? Car chase is such a Los Angeles term. That's really not a New York term because that doesn't happen very often in New York because traffic is, it's gridlock traffic. Yeah. It's bumper to bumper. So the idea of a car chase in general is very Los Angeles.
Yeah, and also we've been talking about why people are so skeptical of Meghan and Harry's car chase and the fact that this is a PR disaster for them. It's a PR disaster because their plan, what they like to do is I call them professional victims. Now, they've commercialised victimhood in a way that no one else ever has. And you've got to give them credit for that. Literally, we do remember the time that Harry, as he described in Spare, was actually attacked by a dog bowl, remember? And he was a victim. He was a victim of a vicious... it used to be that you'd worry that you'd be the victim of a vicious dog attack. Now it's the dog bowl that could attack you. So let's not forget that. He had a mark on his back and his necklace broke, which is very, very serious. Let's not forget as well the vicious time that he had the smallest room in Sandringham. I mean, I imagine even the smallest room in Sandringham isn't that bad, but that was absolutely vicious. Thank you. It was very nice that you just crossed yourself there in prayer for the plight of Harry. Now they have been involved in a low-speed car chase. I was saying earlier it must have been very frightening. I hear that a Deliveroo bicycle overtook them during that chase, which could have been absolutely, catastrophically frightening for them. And no one believes them. It's a PR disaster, right?
Yeah, this is on the 5-year anniversary of their wedding, Cristo. This is not the headline that they want after 5 years of marriage, after making it, And is it Camilla Tomley? Am I pronouncing her name right? The Telegraph? Tomley, Telegraph?
Tomini, though, N-E-Y, Tomini.
Tomini, okay.
Yeah.
So she wrote an article recently for the Telegraph that revealed that Harry was spending some time apart from Meghan, and that friends said that they were united, but they were kind of exhausted, as normal parents of toddlers would be, especially parents under a microscope in the public eye. And she said Harry would come out to I think she said like the Beverly Center or something to do I think it might have been Billy's boot camp, which is used to be like infomercials out here, but yeah. Do some working out at Billy's boot camp and stay at a hotel out here that she named. And then she named another hotel in Santa Barbara that he apparently would escape to if he just needed some alone time. Now, the Sussexes, who rarely respond to anything, and now they did not threaten a lawsuit. They did reply to the Daily Star when the Daily Star asked them to comment on that story, and they denied that story is true, that Harry has any sort of outlets that he escapes to in the state of California. So I think that's newsworthy. When they didn't come out and deny Tom Bower's book, they, really, they pushed back on Valentine Lowe initially, but ultimately didn't sue him over his book Courtiers. So the fact that they're really, really pushing against this story, I think that Harry's just kind of feeling overwhelmed right now, because on the same night that they had this slow motion chase, a 29-year-old man was arrested outside of their home in Montecito. He wasn't entering the I don't want to say, I don't know, he wasn't entering their property, but he might have been trying to. And apparently their security guards were...
I mean, if I wanted to monetize victimhood, which they do, I mean, that is horrific that happened. That's absolutely, right. That's so frightening. And
that's happening
terrible.
If the babies are there alone, we don't know, but the babies could have been there alone. Harry's on the opposite coast in what he seems like. At the end of the day, I know that they were exaggerating, but at the end of the day, I do think that Harry was overwhelmed and probably had some sort of traumatic experience that evening. He lost his mother in flash bulbs. And to him, he lost his mother. He doesn't acknowledge that she wasn't wearing a seatbelt because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt the other night.
Has he considered, though, if flash bulbs are something that triggers him, has he considered not going to award ceremonies?
Right, but I think he was there to support Meghan. But I guess my big purpose in saying this is I think that Harry is overwhelmed, and, just to have somebody arrested outside their home. And, we're like lawless over here in California. So he was let go on bail within hours, this guy who Harry's security was familiar with. Apparently he's been around before. Harry's dealing with stuff on the East Coast.
Are you sure it wasn't James Corden? I mean, he's like wandering aimlessly now that he's not got a job, because they are friends, and he could have just been popping over for a visit.
Cannot confirm that it's not him, but so I just think that Harry's just in a bad place. He's just overwhelmed because he probably feels like everything's out of control. But you're right, it's not a good look for their brand. But is it something that will hurt them with people that do think they're really victims. No, I mean, Whoopi Goldberg can go on The View all day long and say that she doesn't buy this story. But if Meghan Markle walked in that studio, Whoopi would get on her knees worshiping her, saying, you know, we're not worthy, we're not worthy. I don't think this is the kind of story that slams the door in people's faces that don't loathe them. You either loathe them or you hate them or you're in between. And the in-between percentage is extremely low. If you didn't loathe them before, I don't think that you're turned off by this story. I just think you're like, sounds like they exaggerated it a little bit.
Yeah, and you say that maybe they sometimes take time out from each other. You know, what married couple doesn't? But when you said that, I was just thinking, because they must be exhausting. Like the pair of them must be exhausting with each other, because if the kinds of gripes that they have that they put in books are in any way demonstrative of what they're like at home, you know,
right.
You've left
left the dishes in the sink.
You've left the dishes in the sink. That's unconscious bias. You know, I don't know. You turned the light on in the garage and it flashed. You know, you've triggered me now for something. You know, why did you pour me a glass of milk? You're racist. You know, it's going to be all of that sort of stuff that they're probably constantly on at each other about. They would exhaust you. Imagine being friends with them. It would be absolutely exhausting.
I know. I wanted to ask you, though, what did you think about this story about Citadel? This is Priyanka Chopra's new show on Amazon, it's a nasty reference about the Princess of Wales. Somebody says something like, they're given an assignment and they were like, well, you might as well have told me to get in between the legs of the Princess of Wales. So like that, it's like a vulgar comment made about Kate. Now, this is literally less than a week after we find out that Disney makes a nasty Catherine reference in The Little Mermaid, when Eric rushes to Ariel and says, what's your name? And she can't talk. She's lost her voice. And he goes, Diana. And she's like, no. And then, well, she can't say anything. So she goes, And then he says,
she goes, what does she do? She can't say anything. So when he says Diana, what does she do?
And then he says Catherine, and she's disgusted. She's like,
oh.
And so, yeah. And so everybody's now saying that Disney's slamming Catherine. I'm sitting back here going, there's no way that Hollywood felt like they had permission to treat this person this way until 3 years ago. You know, I think Harry and Meghan. So do you think
Hollywood is Team Meghan?
I think certain productions are. Priyanka Chopra was at Meghan Markle's wedding. You know, and
oh yeah, but I mean, in fairness, come on, you could throw a stick in the street, and if you hit a celebrity, there's a chance they would have been at Meghan and Harry's wedding. Now, notice that's different to me saying had they actually met Harry and Meghan before, because there were some people.
She is best. Like she was besties with Meghan. They were all over each other's Instagrams before.
I think she'd spoken to Oprah on the phone once, and Oprah ended up with an invite, but her own father
exactly.
didn't.
George Clooney had never met her before he showed up.
And he was at the wedding. So George Clooney had never met them and was at the wedding. Mm-hmm. That is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, that is social grifting if I've heard it.
So I do think that there is an element of disrespect. I remember when like 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, oh my gosh, I'm old. There was a song by Bridget Medler that came out called Ready or Not, and the lyrics were so cute. It was like, you'll be my William, I'll be your Kate, living like a fairy tale. There was definitely this brand Wales. It wasn't the Wales at the time, but there was definitely this fairy tale princess, just, this wonderful magic that was wrapped around William and Catherine. And I feel like Harry and Meghan are tearing it down, and I hate to see Hollywood playing in it. I hate to see Hollywood
But then, they're probably worried that they'll be all accused of unconscious bias or something else, because, the accusations do get flown around thick and fast. Okay, now, let's talk about the King, because what's he doing at St Andrews?
Oh, wait,
no, not St Andrew, sorry. He's anything but a saint, let's be honest. This is just Andrew, his brother, the Duke of York. He's not a saint.
Not a saint. Wait, also we should have mentioned earlier too that we've got some new competition in the podcast game, as Sarah, Duchess of York, has started a podcast where she promises to spill the tea. So it's almost like Majesty could literally just be us listening to Sarah Ferguson and responding, because I can't imagine what a train wreck that's going to be.
Oh God, yeah, as well.
I know.
And
but
someone's got to pay the bills. I mean, someone.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Cristo. Like, she's just honestly just hustling so much, because I feel like Prince Andrew is so much on the outs. But the report is that he's refusing to move out of Royal Lodge, and the king really wants that space for Prince William and Catherine to move in there with their little family. And so there are reports that the king could shut off the water, could shut off the utilities, that he's really starting to have to think outside of the box, or like an actual landlord.
He's not going to do that. I don't believe that. What he's going to... So basically, he's going to smoke out Prince Andrew, so there's going to be no water. Then soon he's going to clock the gates. There can't be a food delivery. And then eventually an emaciated, dehydrated Prince Andrew, with looking like Robinson Crusoe, with like a beard and a ponytail, will emerge from the undergrowth of the cottage and not sweating, obviously, as he crawls through that undergrowth, desperate for a cup of water, and then that's when they'll pounce and get the place back.
Well, and the craziest part about all of this
be really
is that
quick.
According to the Daily Star, Andrew's the one that's worried about this. Andrew's the one that's saying to people he's going to cut off my electric and water. So that's the funniest part to me.
I think that is sort of hilarious, but terrible. Good to talk to you, as always, Kinsey Schofield.